In what world does Joe Felix go to fucking Villa?
He's already given us his green light.
Come on, Billy.
Well, let's see what happens in the transfer window.
I agree.
He's Emery's dream signing.
Billy, I agree with Dan. Dan, you're absolutely spot on. Even though you're a United fan, you're absolutely spot on. And sorry for my late arrival. Look, for me, I'd rather play for Colchester United than play for Aston Villa because I think they're that dusty, to be honest with you. One of the dustiest teams I've ever seen in my life. But getting into...
This is coming from a fan base that wanted to lose against Man City to clinch Champions League.
This is coming from a fan base who celebrated losing 5-0 at the end of the season.
Big up, Billy.
We were celebrating getting Champions League.
But... let's talk
calling
about
Villa dusty while you support Spurs is a little bit.
The thing is, mate, football. Unfortunately, people don't like me telling them this, but football has moved on. With a club like Chelsea, let's be real. If you were a footballer, would you want to go and play with Villa, or would you want a 7-year contract?
But you're talking about the name. He's bothered about you're not talking about what the correct footballing decision for your career could be. Whether you use Villa as a stepping stone to then go back to a top club.
But what I'm trying to say is not everyone can be a Richarlison. Richarlison had an opportunity to go to Saudi on big money. He said, nope, I want to stay in the Prem. I want to fight for my place. Neto has gone to Chelsea simply for the fact that there's a 7-year contract on the table and he wants money.
That's why all of
he knows he's not going to play. He knows he's not going to play. Chelsea know he's not going to play, but Chelsea are doing what Chelsea does. Chelsea have no idea about Neto or how they're going to use him. But you know what? We're going to stop Spurs or we're going to stop Villa or we're going to stop Arsenal from getting him. That's what they used to do, and they've reverted back to form. And that's why Chelsea are in the mess or in the mud that they're in. And that's why I don't feel sorry for Chelsea. I've already said it before. Where is that Don? He goes hiding at the wrong bloody time. His team is one of the dustiest teams I've ever seen in my life. And I told this brother that this Chelsea team will not finish top 6. Who would have known literally a week later that, they've sent Conor Gallagher back home. This is how dusty this club is. And in fact, I'm now certain that messes up something with the Neto deal because they sold Gallagher, or at least they thought they sold Gallagher, and so brought in Neto for that fact that now he's come back. The whole thing's a mess. I can tell you now for certain, in terms of race for Europe, Dan is going to be here simply because he's a nice guy, and we also need admin on this. Not you, Dan, the United fan, but Dan, the Chelsea fan. We need admin because Chelsea are not involved. Chelsea are not relevant anymore. And it's a shame, footballing heritage is just going down the pan because of the money. Chelsea are dusty, and I'm glad for all the stuff they've done to my club over the years. May it continue. More dust for Chelsea FC.
Well, mate, listen, it started off going ranting at Villa and it turned into dunking on Chelsea. That is Deji all over, man, isn't it? That is that. If anyone doesn't know Deji by now, just listen to the last few minutes. That is summed up perfectly, man. Summed up perfectly.
Look, Manchester United is one of the dustiest teams I've ever seen in my life.
You know how many dusty teams are there, Deji?
There were 3 dusty teams last season, and let me name them because I know it's the first time we're meeting. Chelsea, West Ham and Man United, some of the dustiest football I've ever seen. Sandstorms, Sahara Desert settings, that's what we were getting.
Deji, I want to record the way you say dusty and have it as my text tone. It's the best way I've ever heard that said.
Dusty is dusty, bruv. And let me be real. Eric Ten Hag is trying to turn Manchester United to Ajax United in disguise. This brother can't find another player unless he's played in Holland. In fact, unless they've got some sort of link to Ajax, then he can't bring a player in, which is bloody ridiculous when you're at one of the richest clubs in world football. Now, the only saving grace for Eric Ten Hag was the fact that he won the FA Cup, and he had the audacity at the end when you won the FA Cup to say, that's what I do, I win trophies. Yeah, and you took 14 L's in the Premier League that season. You can't be taken serious.
My manager.
Manchester United are doing the right things behind the scenes, but you cannot be taken seriously with Erik ten Hag at the helm. When he leaves, I think the world will sit up and say, "Hoi, Man United might just be getting things right." But with Erik ten Hag on the wheel, captaining this vessel, you know that this brother is, this is the guy that brought in Rasmus Højlund. You've been bringing in dusty players, and Dan, you said it yourself. Eric Dyer is starting ahead of De Ligt. Now, De Ligt, once upon a time when he was at Juventus, was coveted by teams around the world as one of the best up-and-coming defenders. If Eric Dyer is playing in front of you, I don't give a damn if Eric Dyer was playing in front of you at Wrexham. There must be something wrong there with that player. I ain't going to lie to you. So the fact that Dyer is getting a look in before De Ligt, I'm not sure if there's anything lit in there, if you know what I mean. For me, there's a couple of things that's probably going on in João Felix's head. First of all, is that Aston Villa kit. I don't know about you, but it's one of the dustiest kits I've ever seen in my life. So just even from a footballing perspective, does he want to put on that shirt? I think it's a genuine question a lot of players ask themselves before going to Villa Park. The other thing is, I think, I'm not so sure Villa Park is the allure that you're hoping. On paper, it makes sense. But when I'm looking at Villa and the signings that you've made, and they don't make sense either. You in Chelsea are much of a muchness. I asked an Aston Villa fan, Josh, who is also a delusional Villa fan, and I said to him, "Well, where's Onana going to play?" And he said, "Well, pre-season we've had Onana playing in the midfield, and we've had McGinn playing as striker." Exactly. So for me, that's
exactly what happened last season when we finished fourth.
I'm just saying, any team that's playing John McGinn as a striker cannot be taken seriously. Dan, the Chelsea fan, was almost about to burst into tears. And so for me, you're buying these players. João Felix, where's he gonna play? The players you brought in, no one knows where they're gonna play. Some will say, well, that's the cleverness about Unai Emery. I actually think he doesn't know what he's going to be doing, to be honest with you.
Deji, the other thing as well is Luiz as well. The Luiz transfer was bonkers. One of your top players last season, and you let him go for 20 million and a couple of kids.
I don't know. It's baffling to me. So people who don't look into Aston Villa too much will shake their bum,
like yourself,
finally,
evidently.
But the truth is, mate, if McGinn could be an option, if Ollie Watkins is not fit, and you are looking at starting McGinn as your
that's not what's happening though, is it?
Would you be happy finishing second with the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, because it's a trophy, and we've gone for a title challenge.
For real?
Yeah, man, because it's a trophy.
I respect that.
But let's be real. Tottenham don't know what that feels like, bro.
I'm just saying,
don't respect trophies. Tottenham are allergic to trophies. You ain't compatible. This is what happens with Spurs. They laugh at trophies. Who would want one of them? Because you never get them. You'd rather finish fourth and get Champions League football in a competition you can't win.
I just
play a couple of group stages and then get knocked out instead of winning FA Cup. Which is madness to me.
In my mind, there's no difference to finishing second with no trophy and second with the Carabao Cup. Personally, I don't think the Carabao Cup carries any weight. But if you would be happy with that and say that keeps Arteta in a job for another season, I respect that.
Go and ask the League Cup winners what they thought of it. Go and ask the fan base when they celebrated it. Go and ask Juan de Ramos. He was the last person who got you a trophy there, weren't he? Juan de Ramos.
No worries. It's all good.
One day, Ramos, Johnny Woodgate with a header. I remember it well in 2008. And George Graham, our old manager, that won you that Tim Pot as well. If it weren't for that, mate, Tottenham would have got to go all the way back to 1991 when I was 4 years old to win a trophy.
But the only thing I will say to you, and a lot of people, Dan United, I think me and you are in the same wavelength. And what I'm trying to do with the Arsenal fan base and with Dan is to help them to be more ambitious. I'm not sure you've got the minerals and the strength to get it up. But also,
this is a Tottenham fan trying to tell me to be ambitious, people.
In this day and age, I'm looking at Billy as well. I think personally, and Dan, one Champions League or Premier League title was equivalent to 10 FA Cups. So for you to be happy with a Carabao Cup and a second place finish is very low in terms of your expectations for your club. Because for me, what I'm going for is I'm trying to skip past this process crap in terms of Carabao and an FA Cup. If Tottenham was to win a league or Champions League by mistake, we would have achieved more than you guys have achieved since you last won the Prem.
You haven't done it since '68.
I'm just saying though, if it was to happen, you have to put some respect on my club.
And I will. When you win the Premier League, I'll put respect on your club. Cool. But make sure you do it before us, yeah? Jeevers. Let me tell you. And I tell you what, if you dare celebrate winning the FA Cup or the League Cup, I am cooking you, bruv. I'll tell you this now. I am cooking you, Dej, because I'll tell you this now. If you win that League Cup or that dusty trophy that you call it, and you start celebrating and shaking your bum violently, I'm coming for you, man. Let me tell you this now. I'm going to tell you to come. It's only a little trophy. It don't matter. Tottenham don't like little trophies, man. Go win that Premier League. Go win that Champions League when you get back in it. That's what's going to happen, brother.